Okay, so I'm going to talk about something that happened about 6 weeks ago, I think, when I first moved into my house at the start of the uni year. It was quite a traumatic experience, and yes, it is about spiders. So if you've actually interacted with me since the spider incident, then you have probably heard this story multiple times. I sincerely apologise. Although not really, because it really freaked me out. And although it's kind of funny to talk about now, when it actually happened, it was really creepy and I was not very happy at all. Okay, so basically, I was sitting in one of my friend's rooms and we were all just sort of chatting, having a great time. And then suddenly, out of literally nowhere, I look down onto my leg and there's this quite big spider just sitting right near the top of my leg. I'd say probably about that big. It was quite a big spider and I was absolutely horrified. I sort of smacked the spider away, screamed and ran out of the room, and everyone in the room was sort of quite confused. They didn't really know what had happened, and I didn't really help by the fact that I was just standing outside of the room screaming, "Is it still on me? Is it still on me?" So after a while, um, everyone twigged that sort of what I've been talking about was a massive spider. Um, they got rid of the spider out of the window, and I was eventually calmed down. The awful thing was, though, I have no idea where the spider came from. Still to this day, I don't know. Did it fall from the ceiling onto my leg? Did it crawl up my leg? Or was it, I think the most horrifying thing of all, was it in my dressing gown, waiting for about an hour, just near me for an hour, until picking its moment and crawling out onto my leg? I can't handle that thought. I will say that I'm quite proud of myself during that first ordeal, that I didn't cry. I got a bit shaky and screamed really, really loudly, but I didn't cry, and I was kind of proud about that. But notice how I said first ordeal and not sort of the only ordeal of the day, because later on in that day, probably about 11 o'clock at night, I was just sitting on my bed, minding my own business, just watching some TV on the laptop, and then suddenly, coming from the stairs in my attic room, there emerges the biggest spider I have ever seen. In my life, literally the biggest spider I've ever seen in the flesh. I have confirmed with my flatmate that it was probably about as big as a palm. It was like a tarantula that had been shaved. It was disgusting, and I couldn't cope. So what I did is I ran downstairs, probably tripping a couple of times on the stairs on my way down, and went and knocked on my housemate's door, because luckily for me, one of my housemates really isn't that bothered about spiders, and she was designated very early on as the spider catcher. I explained the situation to her, and she said she'd come and try and get the spider, and I was literally I was panicking, so she handled me quite well. But it transpired that within the time it had taken me to go downstairs and get her attention, and then the time that it had taken us to come back upstairs, the spider had vanished. We had no idea where it had gone, and my friend was like, "Well, I can't just sort of stay with you the whole night just in case the spider comes back." So she left to go to bed, and I was left in my room with the thought of this huge spider being somewhere. And if I could show you my room right now, it is not a tidy place. There are many, many hiding places for spiders, a lot of which are near my pillow. So I was just having mental images of this spider crawling across my face in the middle of the night, or being up on the roof, on the ceiling, and then suddenly, because it was so big, its gravity was just going to pull it down and it'd fall onto my face. So I put on the biggest pair of boots that I have, tucked my trousers into them, and just stood in the middle of my floor with some hairspray, because I've heard that if you spray spiders with hairspray, it kills them. And I got myself quite worked up, and I started crying and got pretty hysterical. So after maybe 10 minutes of standing in the middle of my floor doing deep breathing exercises, the spider re-emerges, but this time it doesn't move, it's just sort of standing at the top of the stairs that are in my room. So I do what any rational human being does. I don't step over the spider to go and get my flatmate. I grab my phone and go and stand on top of my bed like a woman in an old Tom and Jerry cartoon and phone my friend from my bed saying, "The spider's back, please can you come and get it, because there's no mercy. I'm not having mercy on it today." My housemate came back upstairs. Luckily my room was open, to find me standing on my bed sobbing. We eventually had to get like a massive glass, like that big, that is how big the glass was, to catch the spider with. We threw it out of the window, and it was all over. But my friends really did have to do quite a good job of calming me down, because all the while that she was trying to get rid of this spider, I was just standing there just like, "Beth, if it comes near me, I'm going to kill it. I'm going to kill the spider. There's no mercy. One of them have been on me today. There's no mercy. There is no mercy." I was losing it. So eventually, when she managed to get rid of the spider and put it out of my window, I gave her a hug, and the first thing she says was, "Oh my God, you're shaking," and I was. To this day, I don't really trust my dressing gown. I have to sort of check in both of the sleeves, the back and the front, before I put it on, just in case there's a spider hiding there. I also do that for every single sort of top item of clothing that I wear. I haven't done it to jeans yet, because most of my jeans are skinny jeans, but there's time for that. There's time. I feel as if I've grown as a person from this experience. Like a couple of weeks ago, there was quite a big spider in my room. I didn't know it was there, and I just sort of walked in, and it was on the wall where I put the Turner lights on. And I think I dealt with it quite well, to be honest. Like, it's not as if I got rid of it by myself, or killed it, or something like that. But I didn't scream. And I think that's progress. I just very calmly, without taking my eyes off the spider, sort of backed out of my room and shouted for my housemate to come and get rid of it. I feel as if I'm slowly getting over this fear of spiders, like with tiny, tiny bits of progress, tiny little nuggets of progress. No, I still really don't like spiders. I'm going to regret putting this on the internet, probably.